Peter, excuse my ignorance, but I think it's the same kind of ignorance that we find amongst members of the public on the South Coast about what is happening with the Chamber of Commerce. Please fill us in as short a time as possible on what the situation is at the moment.
Okay. Johanna, I just want to thank you as well for the opportunity to sit at this meeting and also to address the challenges or perhaps the confusion that is being created in the public domain. I took over as president of the South Coast Chamber of Commerce and Industry in 2012. This was through a nomination process. And after spending 6 years in the community, in areas of youth development, community development, and it has actually been found that this commitment to the community and also to the Chamber has earned us a lot of respect in our personal capacities and also the Chamber as well. We like to believe that the voice of the business sector and the community. And what has happened is that since my appointment to president in 2012, the previous vice president, Mr. Ivan Naidu, he is, with some of the executive committees, have done, committee members, haven't done much in terms of the portfolio development, a lack of cooperation, a lack of support, and this has also made the Chamber's work extremely difficult. Shortly after taking over, this was in November last year, it was brought to our attention that there were incidences of illegal or fraudulent representation where certain goods were claimed for, namely a computer, where the value was overstated, and this was clearly fraudulent. This was brought to our attention by the underwriters and the insurers, and we had to take this matter up. It brought shame and dishonour onto the Chamber, and we had to deal with this in a responsible and mature way. What the insurers had said to us is that we need to deal with the transgressors, and in this case we brought the action, disciplinary action, against Mr. Ivan Naidu as the vice president, and he was dismissed summarily based on the findings and also our personal recommendations that were ratified by a full chamber. It was approved, so in other words, Mr. Ivan Naidu, since November last year, was no longer a member of the chamber. He disputed this through a legal process and through his attorneys, but we actually proceeded. He didn't contest the fact that there were fraudulent activity or something of a fraudulent nature had taken place, but he, what he did was to challenge the process that was used to dismiss him. Since that incident, there's been a division in the Chamber where other members who also have contributed very little towards the development and management of the Chamber in terms of their portfolio, their commitment, their cooperation, lack of attendance, and they were also dismissed. What has happened is that we have continued with a forensic audit, which has proved mismanagement, theft of assets, and other issues of fraud. And based on this, a meeting was held to actually, I think for the want of a better word, was to discredit both Mrs. Karen Smith and myself as executive committee members, and also to condone or to cover up the details of the forensic audit that were going to be highlighted and also released in the public domain as was befitting or as was necessary for the members of the Chamber.
Peter, just for clarity's sake, these, this audit that you're talking about,
yes,
have any charges, formal charges resulted from that? I mean, where do we stand with that, the legal process?
Let's just say, Johan, that we've taken the necessary responsible action. It's following a process. We're not satisfied that with this meeting, this meeting that was actually held to dismiss us. It was out of order, it was unconstitutional, and we are very confident of the findings, and also, as I say, we're going to take the necessary action.
Okay, but that's understandable. But now there is still some confusion because Mr. Naidu and his group say that they are still the original chamber, and you and your group, I won't say have broken away. You say you've taken the chamber with you, but now under a new name. Now, how does one explain to the people out there that there cannot be, or that they are not two different bodies at the moment?
Well, the South Coast Chamber of Commerce and Industry has been established for the past 60 years. As an institution, we have actually made sure that the ownership of that is in the hands of responsible people. We are the rightful owners of the chamber. We've been appointed by an executive, and we do not recognize this small group of people who continue to represent the chamber illegally and unlawfully, and we do not recognize their meeting. It was unconstitutional. They were advised of that through legal representation, which they chose to ignore. They continue to utilize information belonging to the chamber to host events. They continue to represent the South Coast Business Chamber in the municipal and government arena. And this is, honestly, Johan, I think that when the truth comes out, I think it's in the public's interest that it will do, and we're totally satisfied that we're on the moral high ground. We haven't committed anything in terms of a breach of the Constitution. We've been responsible. Mrs. Karen Smith is actually a long-standing member of the Financial Services Board. I myself have been a social entrepreneur for the past 34 years. I've served the community, and I believe that these people, it was just an attempt to hijack a chamber for their own personal self-interest.
Speaking of hijacking,
yes.
What happens on the 8th of August when they have their AGM? They go through the normal process, and their chamber goes on as if nothing has happened. What are you guys going to do then?
Yeah, and I think at this stage we're not going to go into a trial by public media. We have already addressed both the South Coast Herald and also the Fever. We've given them all the facts. We can't change what people choose to write or what they choose to put into the public domain. We're not here to defend our actions, but what we are saying is that we're the rightful owners. We are handling this in a responsible manner, and there's no way that their small group of breakaway executive members can be recognized. They have done absolutely nothing in the public domain to assist the socio-economic development in the region, and I think that what needs to be done is that their contribution to the community, the contribution to the chamber is all in question, and I think it's about having the right. It's about having the right to claim that you are the voice of business on the South Coast.
Peter, one last question. It's common knowledge that the chamber over a number of years hasn't really fulfilled its role, or did not really fulfill its role.
Yes.
Now you have this complication of basically, let's call it a feud or a fight between two groups.
Yes.
Won't that now make it more difficult in the future for a chamber to fulfill its duty?
Johan, no, I don't. I think that the chamber deserves an executive committee.
Okay, sorry, the chamber. What are you guys, your grouping, what is it called now?
Well, it's still the South Coast Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and all we've done is that we've abbreviated the name to be the South Coast Business Chamber. We've also rebranded it. We've put 3 pillars on our logo, which is what we stand for, which is unity, integrity, and prosperity. And I think that we have a vision. We have a lot of energy. We're totally committed and dedicated to this development, certainly in youth development. We built up a lot of respect and recognition in the community, and I think that we see this as a small hiccup. We see it as a minor irritation, and I think that once we have dealt with this executive, I call it a rogue executive committee, that have chosen to attempt to take over the chamber, it's a futile attempt, and we're certainly not going away. And I think that with the respect and recognition that we have gained in the community, I think that we will still continue to have the loyal support of those people who actually know the truth.
Peter Mans, thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Johan. It's a pleasure.